Watford against Chelsea, as the Blues take on the Hornets in the rain to secure another 3 points in the league to bounce straight back from that cup defeat to Manchester United, while Frank Lampard reveals some rather worrying news on Antonio Rudiger's fitness situation, but there's good news on most of the other injuries, including N'Golo Kante. Hello there guys, and welcome back to Blues TV for another preview of mine on this channel as Chelsea take on Watford away from home tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon, whichever you want to call it really, at 5:30 p.m. UK time. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to get back, hopefully get back to winning ways after that cup defeat to Manchester United, which was of course a very, very disappointing game. And generally I've just been a bit annoyed with a couple of things after the game. The performance itself, not so much that we were knocked out really, because, you know, it just gives us a bit more rest between games, I guess. But the performance wasn't good. And then the whole injury situation in the squad really annoys me. And again, today's press conference was all about, or mostly about, the injuries. And it's just strange things going on. And it's just, some of it is just really dodgy. Again, no news on Emerson, and we'll get into that later on as well. But I did make a whole video about that because there's some strange, you know, news coming out that we don't always, that I don't always have time to talk on here on Blues TV, to talk about here on Blues TV. So I did make a video about that on my own channel, to which the link, just click that thing up there, go over there, watch that. That will be, you know, I'd massively appreciate that. I'm sure you'd enjoy the video, and please be sure to subscribe when you're over there. And also, you know, be sure to subscribe to Blues TV if you haven't already. And also drop a like on this video, because, you know, I just massively appreciate that. It doesn't cost you any time. Just go down below and like it. But now, no more waffling about. I'm sorry, a bit of a, you know, shameless self-plug, you know, self-promo, I guess. But now let's just get into the preview. And of course, speak about our opposition, and that of course is Watford. Now, Watford are currently bottom of the league with just 5 points from the 10 games played so far, and not a single win. Not a single win, of course, then 5 draws because they have 5 points, and then 5 defeats. They've also scored the least amount of goals from anyone in the Premier League, with just 5, while conceding 21, which of course isn't exactly the greatest record. But even though Man City absolutely ripped them a new one by smacking them 8-0 in late September, yes, they lost 8-0, they managed to steal points from both Arsenal and Tottenham, which really doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about it. And both of those games, Watford arguably deserved to win. I mean, especially against Arsenal, they missed multiple huge chances late on to win the game, and Spurs needed a bit of a strange goal that VAR still wasn't even sure whether it should be allowed or not, to even equalise that game when Watford were arguably the better team, even though they had way less of the ball. So, you know, it doesn't really make sense. I'm not sure whether you can just call it a North London thing, because what you definitely can't say is that they do, you know, well against big teams for being defensive or something, because City battered them 8-0. What is interesting though, actually, is that earlier in the season, what's my speaking today? They kind of experimented quite a bit with their formations. Although in most games it was a 4-2-3-1, but they still tried a couple of different things. They tried a 3 at the back. They tried a 4-2-2-2, if you want to call it that. But since losing 2-0 at Wolves, they changed to a 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2, or even a 5-3-2, whichever you want to call it, really. And haven't lost a game in the league since then, with draws against Sheffield, Spurs and Bournemouth. But then they did lose to Everton with that formation in the Cup on Tuesday. So it is a bit of a dodgy one, but they did, you know, seem to stick to that formation more recently, which is also a formation that we seem to struggle quite a bit against. Of course, Newcastle made it difficult for us. Yeah, okay, we could have just been more clinical, but Manchester United, particularly in the first half on Wednesday, made it very difficult for us with a 3 at the back formation, so we'll see how that goes for us. Like I said, since that formation change, they've also gone slightly away from trying to keep the ball as much, as usually happens when you play 3 or 5 at the back. You don't have the ball that much. But generally, they just had less of the ball ever since then. Ever since they made that formation change, so generally they just start to take a bit more of a defensive approach to games, which seemingly hasn't gone all too badly for them, considering they haven't lost since, but still, you know, haven't won a single game. Picking out any danger men is difficult in a team that has only scored 5 goals in 10 games. So, you know, it is a bit tricky, but they do have good players. Deulofeu, Will Hughes, Pereira, Doucouré in midfield. You know, they have some good players and also some decent defenders as well. And let's be honest now, with what I just said, the formation and them not really having much of the ball in the last few games, it will likely be down to us to break them down, not make any mistakes like we did against United, and be wary of their counter-attacks. And that way, in my opinion, we should be more than capable of beating them, considering they are still bottom of the league, even though they stole points from both the North London sides. But we're not from North London, so I hope we'll be absolutely fine. But that was really it about Watford, and now let's get into Mr. Frank Lampard's pre-match press conference, which, just basically explained in the beginning already, was a lot of it, anyway, was about injuries again. And that was the first thing he spoke about when he finally gave us a little bit of an update on the Antonio Rudiger situation. Now, he said he's not fit and actually will see a consultant on Monday for an issue in his pelvic area. Obviously, you know what a pelvic area is. If not, Google it. And that is a strange one. Like, as far as I was aware, he was part of first team training on Tuesday ahead of the United game, but we knew he wasn't going to be fit. But he was still part of training, you know, lack of match fitness and that. And now he's seeing a consultant for a problem in the pelvic area. To me, that makes it sound like it is possible that what was thought to be a groin injury that he picked up at Wolves maybe wasn't just a groin injury and was a bit more than that. Not exactly sure. Like, pelvic issue isn't exactly specific, is it now, by what Lampard gave us? But that's the only thing I could imagine. Other than that, maybe it's a new and a separate problem. It's strange. I hope he's back soon because, you know, you don't want to be out for that long. He's been out since like April. So for his sake and for the team's sake, I just hope he manages to come back soon. On other players, he gave us some better news. N'Golo Kante is still out for the weekend, but he's 50-50 to be fit for Ajax on Tuesday, which is good news. So he might be fit for that, and if not, probably for the Palace game, which I think is the game after Ajax. After that, while both Andreas Christensen and Ross Barkley are still out, but they're both close to being back fit. As far as I'm aware, again, Christensen was part of training today, but Ross Barkley wasn't, so I'm not 100% sure on the situation whether either of them or both of them will feature against Ajax. Bloody hope Barkley doesn't feature, whether he's fit or not. But that is that. But again, we didn't get any, information. It just wasn't mentioned again on Emerson Palmieri. Although, fair enough, Frank Lampard did say after the United game, did say a couple of things about the situation, which again, I spoke about in detail in the video over on my channel. So like I said, head over there, check that out and subscribe to my channel. That'd be massively appreciated. After that, Frank Lampard said that he expects a very difficult game at Watford and warned his players not to be overconfident and not to take the game even that tiny bit easy just because they're bottom of the league. Because he says actually facing a team that hasn't won all season is almost more difficult, or at least similarly as difficult, as to facing a team that's on a winning run, because they will be so hungry to finally get that first win of the season. It will definitely not be easy, especially when our form recently has been good, bar the game in midweek, that it's easy to, take a game like that slightly lightly. When, Watford are bottom of the league, we're doing pretty well and everything. So, he made sure that the players knew that. And lastly, the boss said that with the four wingers, let's be honest, it's three because Pedro is absolute shite. He has a bit of a selection headache, and it's a problem that he has, but it's a problem that he enjoys, and said that he won't necessarily be rotating, them three wingers every game, but, just play them as he sees it, play them as he sees them perform, and, and everything around that, I guess. He did reiterate, though, that one poor game won't mean that you're out of the side. Possibly, in my opinion, that could hint at Hudson-ODOI keeping his place in the side from Wednesday to today, even though he had a pretty poor game against United, although he had a good 10-15 minutes early in the second half. But generally, that wasn't a good performance by him. Didn't think it was good in Ajax either, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But that's kind of what I took it as. Of course, you might have taken it differently, and I will, of course, speak about that in a minute when I come to the lineup, because that was it from the press conference, and now we do speak about Chelsea. And like I touched on already, Wednesday really wasn't great. But to be honest, no matter how Wednesday would have gone, we were always very likely to go back to the team, or to a very similar team that played against Burnley and before that, even with Ajax on Tuesday in mind. So I'm pretty sure that we will go back to a mix of a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1. Not that we didn't really have that against United, but still a bit more clear with it. Kepa will, I'm almost certain, well, I am certain, will return back into goal. The two centre-backs will again be Zuma and Fikayo Tomori. I don't think Mark Guehi will now play instead of Zuma next to Tomori. That would very much surprise me. And right back is where we're not 100% sure. Does Reece James keep his spot? I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. But I think it's more likely that Aspie gets back into the side, who's just been doing really well recently, to be fair to Aspie. So he doesn't really deserve to be dropped and more just got a rest. Although Reece James had a good performance against Man United, so maybe it should be Reece James. I don't know. I just think it's more likely that it's Aspie. And of course, on the other side, it has to be Alonso because Emerson is still out. We'll have to wait and see when he's back from injury. Lampard said after the United game in the next couple of games. We'll have to wait and see after he had a step back with his recovery from injury last week. Midfield three will have to be the same thing as it was in Burnley, I guess. Jorginho, Kovacic and Mason Mount. I mean, we don't really have any other options, do we now? Kante's still out. Barkley's still out. Very much out we're going to start Billy Gilmour. So, it really has to be those three anyway, unless we play a proper 4-2-3-1 with someone like Pulisic or Hudson-ODOI as the number 10. But I come into the front three. I touched on the whole Hudson-ODOI situation. I think because of what Lampard said, he will start. I think Willian is guaranteed to start on the other side. And I'm also pretty sure that Tammy Abraham will be the striker again, rather than Michy Batshuayi or Olivier Giroud. I think we're going to see that. So that is the formation that I think we'll go with. And to be honest, that I also would go with, but what I'm going to talk about now, because I would have said Christian Pulisic to start over Hudson-ODOI, tomorrow, just because I thought Pulisic was better on Wednesday. Also had a decent performance against Burnley. So I thought just deserves it, just on merit, I guess. In that sense, I would have started him. But then Lampard, like I said, specifically made that statement of a poor performance doesn't mean you're straight out of the side. So with that in mind, I think that kind of suggested that HUDSON-ODOI will stay in the team. And to be honest, I don't mind either way, because Pulisic, as we've seen before this season, can have a big impact off the bench. And also, started the last 2 games already, so, a bit of rotation in there. Started the last 2, maybe he'll start against Ajax again. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe even starts tomorrow, but that's just what I think. And, the rest of it, I guess it's just what it is, and the Reece James and Aspie one is the only other that I'm like not 100% sure about. Everything else I'm pretty confident about. And what's important to me, talking about the game itself and how I think we will and should perform, what I really need to see is more movement and quicker passing tomorrow. We really, really need that. I mean, in both of the first halves of the last 2 games, both against Burnley and against Manchester United, and even against Newcastle. Against Burnley a little bit less so, I guess, even though we struggled to beat their press at times. But especially against Newcastle and Manchester United, our passing was just way too slow in the first half, and the movement just wasn't there, which is why the passing was slow. And we just can't afford to do that again. We really need to be on it from the first minute of the game, because it just makes things very, very difficult. I mean, Watford won't make it easy for us to break them down at all, and we have to make damn sure that we don't go behind in the game at any point, because that will make it even more difficult. And I am personally confident that we can and will break them down. Hopefully we'll be more like Burnley, where we were very clinical, rather than against Newcastle and Manchester United, when we really weren't clinical at all. So I hope it's a bit more like that, because then I'm confident that we will get the win. What I do hope as well is that Jorginho and Kovacic don't start to fatigue already, whether that's tomorrow or against Ajax, because we absolutely need them at the best. And it's difficult for them to now, because they can't really be rotated until N'Golo Kante hopefully returns against Ajax. And until, Ross Barkley and Loftus-Cheek as well return from their injuries. And then also what I think will be very helpful and very good for us is that Fikayo Tomori comes back to the team. I think that will be very helpful and good for Alonso as well, who struggled more against Manchester United. I think Tomori just helps him out. Tomori is, according to himself and Mason Mount, the quickest player in the team, quicker than the likes of HUDSON-ODOI and Willian and whatever. So, that of course will help Alonso, who's one of the slowest. That will of course help him out, and that should overall be good. And to me, that game has kind of got a 1-0 or 2-0 win to Chelsea written all over it. Maybe a 2-1 if we, mess up for a set piece or something, or a counter attack. So that's going to be my score prediction. I do think that we are going to win the game. But yeah, am I nervous? Not really. I just hope that we can bounce back from that cup defeat on Wednesday and just pick up another 3 points in the Premier League in our chase for top 4, because didn't expect it before the season, but we are more than well and truly in that fight for top 4. So, let's get another 3 points. That will be good. But to be honest, guys, that was really it from me. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to drop a like rating. That'd be massively appreciated. Just go down below and smash the like button. It really doesn't cost you any time. It doesn't cost you any money either. So just do that. I'd massively appreciate that. Be sure to subscribe to Blues TV if you haven't already, and smash the notification bell button and choose to be notified about all uploads so you don't miss any of our future videos. And yeah, to be honest, that was it from me. Thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, and I'll see you when I see you.